And let's take a look at the New York Mets starting lineup, which is brought to you by your local Tri-State Volkswagen dealers. Left field, Brandon Nimmo leading off. Shortstop, Francisco Lindor. First base, Pete Alonso. Second base, Jeff McNeil. Starlin Marte playing right field. The DH is DJ Stewart. Francisco Alvarez behind the plate. Brett Beatty playing third base. And Harrison Bader will be patrolling center field. See the numbers for Pete Alonso, both most in the major leagues, 192 home runs, 498 RBIs. He has been a solid run producer in the middle of that lineup for the New York Mets. New York Yankees take the field. Clark Schmidt getting ready for his final tune-up before the regular season. It'll be his 5th start of the spring. And Nelly trying to improve on what he did in that rotation last year and take another step.
Yeah, and he really had a good spring. There's last year's numbers. A little under a 5 ERA, the 159 innings. You expect that to go up, 175, 180, I would think. You look at the strikeouts. He's improving on his cutter, adding a little sinker away, and this is his scouting report.
It's brought to you by Hyundai.
Well, how many pitches last time out was on the 15th? He threw 58. I'm sure he threw in between that, maybe get the pitch count up. I would expect at least 75, maybe 80 today. You know, moved up in the rotation. Now with Cole on the IL, he's your number 4 starter right behind Marcus Stroman, so he'll wind up starting on Sunday against the Astros. And like Flash has said a number of times, and then he ruined that last one. The final tune-up. Yes, he's ready to go. You know, he's going to be pitching on Sunday. He'll have that extra day, not pitching on the 5th day. He'll have that extra day off when it comes into Sunday against the Astros.
Well, take a look at the Yankees defensively. Verdugo in left, Aaron Judge in center, Juan Soto in right. You got Bibas at third, Arias at short, Gleyber Torres at second, Luis Torrens at first, Austin Wells behind the plate. And we've already said numerous times this will be the last spring training start for Clark Schmidt. Get that out of the way.
For 2020, his final tune-up. The final tune-up. I'm sure he's excited. You know, everybody's itching to get out of there. I would imagine, I don't know when they would fly to Houston because you have half the team that's in Mexico playing tonight against the Diablos. So I would imagine maybe tomorrow they would go and get that workout day on Thursday. They may even work out tomorrow before they fly out. A lot of teams will do that before they go to those opening day cities. Maybe Meredith will wind up knowing more when we get to her.
And there's the first strike of the afternoon for Clark Schmidt. Brandon Nimmo having a solid spring training in his 13 games. The Mets will open up at home against the Milwaukee Brewers. Schmidt ahead in the count 1-2.
When you look at this Mets lineup, you had J.D. Martinez. They just signed him a few days ago and finalized that. He'll start in the minor leagues, get some at-bats, I think about 10 days. Carlos Mendoza, the Mets manager, said this is a really good lineup. I mean, you put Martinez in the middle. I mean, Lindor, Alonso, McNeil, Marte, Starling Marte, having him back in this lineup. There's Alonso. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. They're a really deep lineup, 1 through 9.
And everything that we have heard out of Mets camp, new manager Carlos Mendoza really has done a nice job transitioning into that manager role, taking over this club. And I think they're going to try to prove some people wrong because the expectations aren't real high.
Well, you have the Phillies and the Braves. The Braves are one of the best teams in baseball. They had the best record in baseball last year with, I think, 101 wins, the most. And you have the Phillies, who are really good this year. And the Mets are projected as a third-place team. And like you mentioned, they're trying to prove everybody wrong, but they have to prove everybody wrong with their pitching.
Well, good fastball, first strikeout of the afternoon. Good start for Clark Schmidt.
Well, real good fastball. You watch where Wells sets up. He wants this inside. Little sinker that started on the inside part of the plate and breaks right down the middle. And I think that's going to be a key pitch for Clark Schmidt this year against lefties, is that 2-seamer away.
We'll bring up Francisco Lindor. Takes a first pitch curveball for a strike. Manelli, I mentioned Clark Schmidt and what your expectations are to take that next step. I mean, last year taking the ball every 5th day, getting through a big league season as a starter. Now it's time to get better and build on that.
Yeah, mature. You know, you want to mature every year. You want to learn every year from the previous year. He's a guy that, you know, just from hearing him in his interviews, how he really. I would think that Garrett Cole really had a big influence on him. You always saw it last year, him talking to Clark Schmidt in between starts, giving him some good information and how to go about his business and how to improve with every start. And you've seen it in spring. He's had one hiccup. Other than that, Clark Schmidt had a really good spring. Last outing, only 3 1/3, 58 pitches. You want to see that go up a little bit. Maybe get the 5 innings. You had Marcus Stroman, who's been really terrific in spring, through 6 scoreless yesterday.
1-2 just misses. Well, I looked at the breakdown of Clark Schmidt and his pitches. I mean, he threw his fastball last year only about 25% of the time. Another look at that curveball just off the plate. A lot of cutters, a lot of sliders, occasional curveballs. So for me, the old catcher in me is like, okay, let's establish number 1, that fastball, and then everything else falls into place off of it.
Right, and I don't know if this caught Lindor back in his toe. I mean, that might be a hit by pitch there. He's pointing down to his shoe, say that curveball got and glanced off his foot, and that'll be a hit by pitch.
First base runner of the game. That'll bring up the number 3 hitter in the lineup, first baseman Pete Alonso. Pete having a good spring, 320 batting average, couple of home runs, 4 RBIs.
Well, you're right. You know, getting back to his fastball, maybe throw a few less cutters. You know, you look at guys' percentages, and whenever I look at, you know, Fangraphs is a good way to go about it when you start looking at percentages of what pitches they're throwing. And whenever I look and I see a fastball and I see below about 30%, then I immediately know that that guy has a cutter, because that's probably what he's going to, at least 30 to 35% off of that fastball. And sometimes it takes away. You know, sometimes it takes the velocity away from a four-seamer. Sometimes it takes the location away from a four-seamer, because you really have to master that cutter. Now, this is the 2nd year that he's really mastered that cutter, so I'm sure he's gotten a better feel of that. And I always thought that he needed something to go down and away from the lefty. So a change up down. He's trying to incorporate that 2-seamer down away from lefties. You got to give a look to hitters going both directions. You just can't come in all the time. You need something to go away.
1-2. Alonso hammers this one to right center field. That's Juan Soto able to make the play as Lindor was on the move. He'll get back to first base. 2 down.
That was a breaking ball. Lindor is on the move, and there you see Soto. He drops his head, and I think he just thought that it was going to get a little bit further towards the wall, and he had to stop and make a little basket catch.
A 2 down will bring up Jeff McNeil. Side, easy play for Torrens, and a pretty simple first inning for Clark Schmidt. When we come back, Gleyber Torres will be leading off. Which is brought to you by your local tri-state Volkswagen dealers. Gleyber Torres batting leading off and playing second base. Juan Soto in right field. Aaron Judge playing center field, hitting third. Anthony Rizzo, first game back since March 20th. Really good spring training numbers. Alex Verdugo playing left field. Luis Torrens playing first. Austin Wells behind the plate. Roderick Arias at shortstop, and a new third baseman, Benjamin Cowles. After Bibas was originally supposed to start at third, Cowles now taking over for him. And out on the mound, Sean Manaea. You see his numbers last year with the San Francisco Giants, ERA at 4.44. We'll take a look at our Hyundai pitcher scouting report on Manaea.
Well, the clean cut Sean Manaea. You don't see the big hairy mullet behind him. He's nice and clean cut, but you know, a 3-pitch mix, fastball 93, 95. He has a slider, the changeup. He's in this rotation. Last year, 27 of his 37 games were out of the bullpen, so he's going to be in that rotation. He's an important part as well. especially with Kodai Senga on the IL. He was the #1. Now Minaya slides basically into that #3 slot, right behind Quintana and Severino.
Pours a fastball in there to Gleyber Torres, leading off. We wonder if this might be a little glimpse into Aaron Boone's lineup come opening day, where DJ LeMahieu will start on the IL. And Gleyber has had some reps as a leadoff hitter during spring training.
Yeah, we've seen Verdugo, also Volpe at the top of the lineup.
Well, when you have numbers like that for Gleyber Torres in spring training, this final tune-up, you just want to have a few more quality at-bats. Just like that. A hard line drive into left field. And you know Gleyber Torres is ready for opening day in Houston.
Yeah, real good swing. He gets a fastball upstairs, and he just takes it to left field for a leadoff base hit. And he can run as well. I mean, I don't know how much the Yankees will be running here the last day of spring training. I think they're second in the Grapefruit League in stolen bases as a team.
Brings up Juan Soto. Right back up the middle off of Minaya. Comes up with it and completes the play.
Soto first pitch swinging, and then you see Minaya how he falls off to the third base side and hits him right in the foot. Big guy, 6'5", out on the mound. It's Lindor and Torres having a little fun. How much relievers we were ready to go a week ago. This last day of spring. I mean, you see a lot of teams like the Yankees are out in Mexico City. Some teams will go to other places for those last couple games. You know, sometimes in their home stadium. I think you have the Dodgers, the Angels do that little freeway series. Oakland and San Francisco will do the same thing.
Aaron Judge, first pitch swinging.
How excited were you to get out of camp?
I mean, at this time, you're just ready to go. You're looking forward to getting to a big league stadium, right? Getting on the road with your guys. But for somebody like Aaron Judge, who's missed some time, only played in 9 games, these are important at bats. Try to get the timing right. Get a few days off and set your sights on Framber Valdez opening day.
Yeah, 27 at-bats in spring for Aaron Judge.
And behind in the count, 0-2. Slider gets away from Alvarez behind the plate. Gleyber Torres makes his way to third base.
You know, obviously things are a little different now with the way they treat players. This is just a breaking ball. Just gets underneath the glove of Alvarez. Maybe didn't give it his best effort to try to block that one. That's going to go down as a wild pitch anyway. But I was looking up. I wanted to know Paul O'Neill's, like, what does he usually typically have as far as at-bats? Now, remember, back then, they had A games, you know, B games. You can go down the minor leagues, and they only counted A games on the stats.
Right.
So it was about 57 to 60 ABs, and who knows how many more he had. It was a real good slider from Minaya, down and away, and you can see Judge swing over that. You know, Aaron Judge, 27. This is 28th at-bat.
Now, I'm sure he's gotten some live BPs and things like that to try to get the timing down, but you know, good to see Anthony Rizzo back in the lineup. He missed a few days with a little lat issue, but he's back in there DHing today as Aaron Judge talking about that at bat. I guess to answer your question, it really depends on what type of a spring you're having. If you want extended at bats, when you're hitting 412 like Anthony Rizzo, you just want to have that same feeling. And if you're somebody like Aaron Judge, you're looking for something today to get yourself locked in and ready for opening day. I think the biggest issue with Rizzo, making sure he's 100% healthy, and DHing today a good sign. 2-1 from Minaya. Be a foul ball.
What kind of guy were you in spring as far as leaving like today, the last day, leaving camp on a high note. Did you really care about numbers? Did you say, okay, I got to have a good spring because I want to carry that over in the regular season?
For me, it was more about a feeling. Right, I was more of a mechanical hitter, so I would always be thinking about, okay, what's my key that's going to get me locked in? Good take by Rizzo there. And if I felt like the last 10 days of spring training, everything, I was seeing the ball well, I didn't necessarily need to have the hits. I just wanted to feel good about where I was mechanically. And I know you talked about this. You didn't worry about mechanics during spring. You just wanted to get outs.
Yeah, and I needed to. I didn't want to have bad outings. You know, you had them. You had a few in spring training, but I didn't want bad outings. I wanted to feel good. Obviously, your arm, you want to feel good. There's always a dead period in the middle of spring training when you're throwing, and we threw a lot. I mean, a lot of times we were throwing every other day, and then at the end of spring, you would get a back-to-back. You know, sometimes before that, you would go multiple innings just to burn your arm out a little bit and see if you can recover quick. But I wanted good outings all the way through spring. Even my batting practice, I took serious.
Good break a ball from Manai on a 3-2 count, catches Anthony Rizzo looking. We are scoreless after one. Today's injury report is brought to you by Montefiore Einstein, the official hospital of the New York Yankees. And we take a look at DJ LeMahieu, who has announced today he will begin the season on the IL with that bone bruise on the right foot. There are his numbers during spring training. And Meredith, I'm wondering if you've got any information on how long DJ might be out of the lineup.
Flash, you know what? It's still a little bit of a question mark, but I imagine if you're DJ LeMahieu, you are incredibly frustrated right now. This offseason, he had a normal offseason. He was finally feeling good, back to his old self, felt as though he had his swing back. And you remember back to the beginning of camp and all throughout camp, really, Aaron Boone saying, I am excited about DJ LeMahieu. He's going to be the old DJ this year. The way he was hitting, the way he was moving, they were extremely encouraged. Then he goes and fouls a ball off of his foot, and he's kind of been shut down for the most part. He was out on the backfield the other day doing some defensive work, a little bit of agility, but it still just does not feel right. And you look at the course of an entire season, a lot of games to be played. There's no reason to push it and make sure he is out there for opening day, although ideally the Yankees would like him out there, Flash, but if it means pushing it and it's something he's favoring throughout the course of the season, that is not what they want. So he's going to get another MRI next week just to see where that bone bruise is at, and he's going to continue to do some light activity. There's a little bit of optimism that maybe you see him on opening day, or I should say the season opener at Yankee Stadium, but they want to make sure he's right before he comes back. And obviously without DJ LeMahieu, you guys already touched on it, who is going to lead off for the New York Yankees, and also who is going to play third base to start the season.
Yeah, a lot of speculation on both of those topics. Oswaldo Cabrera getting a lot of reps at third base. His bat has started to heat up a little bit lately. A good slider from Schmidt there down off the plate.
And Flash, it looks like that most likely will be the direction that the Yankees go. You mentioned how much he's played third base lately, and he certainly is swinging a lot better from the right side and from the left side. And this is a guy who did not look like he was going to make the team coming into spring training. Of course, there's the injury to Oswald Peraza and then DJ LeMahieu, and so much can change in a couple weeks here this spring.
Well, thank you very much, Meredith. And you know what? So much changes the last couple of days here where teams are trying to finalize their rosters and sending players out through options and waivers and all these different things. Nelly, there are so many times that the team that you think you're going to leave Tampa with, or in St. Lucie in the Mets case, isn't the team you open the season up with.
Right, and you have the minor league invitees and teams that have the opt-out dates, and they were a couple days ago. I mean, there's some players out there looking for new teams, and you know, you look at the Yankees as far as the utility role now that LeMahieu's starting on the IL. You have Cabrera most likely will get most of the reps at third right now, and you have another slot open up. And who's going to be that utility guy on the bench? You have a couple guys out in the bullpen, and you also have a utility player that you need to add now that LeMahieu's out.
Well, Meredith mentioned him, Nelly mentioning the bullpen. You have any more information on what's going on down there?
Little bit of information, but nothing is official yet. The rosters don't need to be set for a little bit yet, but Clayton Beeter is scheduled to go with the team to Houston, as is Nick Birdie. I spoke with Beeter earlier today. You'll hear from him a little bit later in the broadcast. Hasn't officially made the team, but what a moment it would be for him. He'd be making his major league debut when he comes in from that bullpen, should he make the team. Also, he's from Fort Worth, Texas, so a lot of family and friends will be in attendance. He is excited. He's clearly hoping it happens, but guys, there are still, Jeff, as you mentioned, different moves that could be made. And one thing to keep an eye on, Ben Bortvedt. He's out of options. It looks like they're going to go with Austin Wells as the backup catcher. Exactly what are the Yankees going to do in that situation? Do they pick up a veteran position player, another veteran reliever? A lot could change over the next couple of days.
Yes, it can. Thank you, Meredith.
Well, you look at the bullpen situation. I mean, Clayton Beeter, you have Nick Birdie. Meredith just mentioned could possibly be going to Houston. He's not on the roster, so he would have to be added. And I saw that he has an opt-out date as well, about April 15th, if he is not added to the roster. You have Dennis Santana's another one. Now, if he gets added to the roster, he's out of options. So if you happen to send him down, you would possibly lose him with free agency. You know, then you have to figure out, okay, we have to 60-day DL guys just to add those guys to the roster. You know, is Peraza one of them? You look at Garrett Cole, he'll be out. I don't know, who knows, but they're going to have to get creative in order to add some of these guys to the roster.
The roster flexibility that is part of today's game is so much different than when you and I played. Right? If you have options, you're now a valuable pitcher because you can be sent up and down without the organization, the threat of losing you. So, yeah, you might not want to be on that Scranton-Wilkes-Barre shuttle, but you will be getting some big league time as Clark Schmidt looks sharp this afternoon. A 1-2-3 second inning. Beautiful day in the Tampa-St. Pete area in Florida. And we are scoreless, taking this one at the bottom of the second. Alex Verdugo takes it, first pitch slider for a strike. Then it'll be Luis Torrens and Austin Wells here in the second. 15 games for Verdugo this spring. Well, you're breaking down Sean Manaea, a good fastball at about 95 miles an hour, a slider and changeup. The changeup will throw majority of the time to the righties. And it's hard to explain, Nelly, but I always felt watching Manaea that he throws a heavy ball, right? I mean, there's all the spin rate and numbers and all these things that are in today's game, but it just felt like if you didn't hit this guy on the barrel, you were going to feel it in your hands.
And they call it a bowling ball.
Yeah.
And right there, you could just hear the sound of the bat, and a lot of it is because of that hard fastball that he throws. It is like a bowling ball. And the difference is, I mean, describe the difference between a heavy sinker or a heavy fastball compared to a guy that's throwing like a lighter fastball.
Yeah, it's hard to put into words, but I always felt like, you know, if somebody was throwing 95 to 97, but it was lighter, there was a different feel. Like when you hit it on the bat, it would jump off of your bat. And on the flip side of that, a guy like Manaea, who gets this ground ball here from Verdugo, the bowling ball fastball with a little bit of movement, boy, if you get jammed or off the end, you're going to feel it.
And a lot of times when you have the sink, you get more guys or more pitchers that throw a heavy fastball. What was that like catching?
Well, you remember that thumb guard I used to wear, that little piece of plastic? Yeah, that was because I dislocated my thumb a few times with that hard sinking fastball in on the hands. John Lieber, you remember John Lieber? Yeah, good two-seamer. Just to light me up.
And the funny thing of it is that us pitchers, when we had sinkers, we absolutely loved lighting up catchers.
Thanks.
That was our goal, to throw that heavy sinker inside, get it off the thumb every once in a while. Then you know, okay, I got it today.
You know what I did want to bring up is, you know, yesterday Jonathan Loaizaga pitched in Mexico City. And he did the up-down, right? Got a couple of outs, went into the dugout and sat. How important was that for you as a reliever in spring training to get the up-downs?
Yeah, because usually you just go in one inning.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes you'll throw 8 pitches, sometimes you'll throw 18 or 20. And it's sitting in that dugout. There's that real good slider from Manaea again to Torrens for the strikeout. You watch this slider down and in. It's a nasty pitch, and you're changing the eye level of the hitter with the four-seamer upstairs, and next thing you know, you drop this slider down to the back leg to righty. But that's all about spring training, because Mel Stoudemire, the late Mel Stoudemire, he would want Mike Stanton, Mariano Rivera, myself. We'd have to go multiple innings, and it's to get, sitting down in the dugout and getting up and then going out and throwing your 8 warm-up pitches and then getting through another inning, and that's huge because, sometimes, especially now when they have the 3-batter minimum, a lot of the relievers are going to be asked to, okay, hey, you got to go out and give me another inning, especially early when the pitch count's not there for the starters. And to be able to do that, and you hear reports and you read reports with Loaizaga that he's going to be a guy, or possibly a guy that goes 2 innings and have 2 or 3 days off, thinking that, okay, that might be a better chance of keeping him healthy throughout the year because he's such an important part in that bullpen.
The 0-2 to Austin Wells, down and away. Now, when you did the up-down, you came back out there. Would you feel it more in your legs or your arm, trying to get it cranked up again, or both?
No, it's because we ran so much, and that's different now. They don't run as much as they used to. Our legs were such a big part of keeping our arms strong. I mean, we ran our butts off in spring training. That was another good breaking ball from Minaya.
Another good slider down and away. 4 strikeouts already for Sean Manaea. Legends. Staterooms are going fast. Be sure to visit legendsofbaseballcruise.com today.
I don't know how much of a legend a lot of these guys are myself, but it's a great time. It's a great time for Yankee fans as well.
When I read this read, Jeff, or Nelly, it's pretty specific. The legends will include the Duke, El Duque, Orlando Hernandez. I consider the Duke.
He's a legend. Yes.
Jim Leyrit's the king. He's a legend, right?
Self-imposed, yes.
Yes, and then our colleague Jeff Nelson. I consider you a legend, and I guess my invitation must have gotten lost in the mail at some point.
You should go.
I know I changed, residencies recently, so that must explain why I didn't get the invitation. But
I'm shocked that you didn't, because it's such a great time.
But then when I read like the details, you have to be a legend in order to be invited. And I mean, come on, I was a backup catcher for 3 years, so
you're a legend now.
Let's move on. Clark Schmidt looks pretty good, doesn't he?
He looks great.
Facing third baseman Brett Beatty, his first at bat this afternoon. He works a leadoff walk here in the 3rd. Speaking of legends, John Sterling in the booth at Steinbrenner Field. Great to see John around the ballpark again. Look forward to hearing his calls all year long.
An amazing voice. Yes, definitely a legend.
Legend. Number 9 hitter Harrison Bader signed as a free agent with the New York Mets. And they're in the numbers. Spring training, 12 games, couple of home runs, couple of RBIs. We know he can really go get him out in center field. Will help that New York Met defense.
I like him as a player. If he can stay on the field and stay healthy, he's a really good center fielder. He's one of those guys that, it's 100% all the time. He'll run through a wall. He'll make diving catches. When he first came over to the Yankees, his bat was huge for them.
Yeah, had a great playoff and a solid swing right there. Hard line drive to left field, and the Mets are in business here in the 3rd.
Yeah, real good kid. You root for him. Don't want to stay. I mean, you don't root for the Mets very often, but you root for players. There's a pitch just up in the zone. Bader stays on top of it. Nice level swing.
Back to the top of the lineup, Brandon Nimmo. He struck out his first at bat.
Schmidt, real good off speed today. A good breaking ball, good slider. After that backdoor slider, this would be a good chance to try to work on that 2-seamer. Something down and away. Maybe get a ground ball out of Nimmo. There's that good 2-seamer right there at 94. Between a 4-seamer and a 2-seamer, there's really not much difference in speed. A 4-seamer might be a little bit harder because it's got a tighter spin. You might see it maybe a mile faster, maybe 95. The 2-seamer, get a little bit bigger dot on the side of the ball. Might be about 94. I mean, not much difference in velocity between those pitches.
Final tune-up, getting ready for the start of his season. And first and second, nobody out here, pitching out of the stretch. Nelly, not a bad situation, trying to think about maybe some situational pitching. What do I have to do to get a ground ball? Is it the two-seamer down and away or the cutter in on the hands? Yes, you would love every outing to go smoothly, right, where you don't have to pitch out of the stretch, but use this inning as a chance to try to get out of some trouble.
Yeah, you would think you'd go down and away here. Yeah, really good breaking ball there.
Really good curveball.
You know, after that previous pitch of going cutter inside, you figure, okay, anytime you come in to a hitter, you're going to usually go away. And this is just changing the eye level. We talked about that with Manaea, how he changed the eye level against the Yankees. And you want to do the same thing with McNeil there, or Nimmo there.
Beatty off of second. Bader taking his lead off of first. Francisco Lindor was hit by a pitch his first at bat. Lindor having a slow spring, has been known as a guy who gets out of the gates a little bit slow, but the numbers are always there at the end of the year.
When you talk, and I talk about changing the eye level for a catcher and even as a hitter, how important is that? You know, you look at something coming out of the same arm slot, and all of a sudden you have the fastball up around the belt, and all of a sudden you start the curveball around there as well.
Ground ball to the right side. Terren's up with a nice play to get the out at second. They can't complete the double play. Nice work by the Yankees defensively there.
One of the toughest jobs a pitcher has to do is get over there on that double play ball, and you're taught to go right to the bag. And nice play by Torrens, the first baseman. Good feed to Arias, and that was a pretty close play. You know, for a pitcher, you're running as hard as you can over to first, and you have to find the bag, and you have the middle infielder making a throw across the diamond as well. That's a tough play for a pitcher.
With two down, I'll bring up Pete Alonso. Hit a hard line drive to Juan Soto in right field, his first at bat. About Pete Alonso with the addition of the designated hitter coming behind him, J.D. Martinez. There's going to be a lot of protection for Pete Alonso, who really has been that main slugger in the New York Met lineup for years.
Free agent at the end of the year, you know, you wonder, and I think the Mets will surprise some people. I still think of them as possibly a third place team. Their pitching is going to decide where I think they finished in the NL East.
Fly ball to center field. Aaron Judge settling underneath it. So a nice job by Clark Schmidt working out of trouble. First and second, nobody out, but a scoreless third for Smith. Yankees. Bottom of the third, Roderick Arias leading off. Both starting pitchers on top of their game this afternoon. And the numbers in rookie ball in 27 games last year.
Get the big league meal money for a day. It's always nice. They do that anymore? You know, the guys that call up, give them big league meal money for a day?
I am not sure. I just I'm having flashbacks when I was that extra catcher who'd come to spring training, and the meal money was handed out on Friday, and it was Thursday right after the game. You're trying to sneak out of the clubhouse. You show up for another week, get that big league meal money. Manaea gave up a leadoff hit to Gleyber Torres, but has been rock solid since then until that base hit from Arias. Nice hard line drive into left field.
Yeah, towards the end of the spring, that's one of those decisions you make. Hey, I might not even shower in the clubhouse. I'm going to take my uniform home at the hotel. Nice swing by Arias. Gets a fastball. See, pull his hands in. Laces it to left field.
Bring up the 9-hitter, Ben Cowles. Originally, Bibas was in the lineup, but he was a late scratch. Meredith, you have a little bit more on that?
Yes, he was actually scratched with a face contusion. He suffered that injury during pregame warm-up. He saw the Yankees medical staff. It did not appear as though he had any concussion-like symptoms, but as a precaution, they took him to St. Joseph's ER. We'll have some additional tests, so certainly not a great way to end the spring for Bibas, but he did appear to be okay when he left. So, as you mentioned, instead, it is Benjamin Cowles in there in the batter's box right now and playing third base for the Yankees.
Well, thank you very much, Meredith. As manager Carlos Mendoza coming out having a few words with Vic Carapazza.
Yeah, it was a balk, and I was just about to mention before you asked Meredith about Bibas that Manaea, he doesn't come to a stop, and when you have men on base, you have to show at least the umpires that you're going to come to a stop. They'll call that, and they've been instructed over the last couple of years to really call that when a pitcher doesn't stop for a split second in his windup. And you watch, I mean, as soon as he puts that ball in the glove, he doesn't really come to a complete stop. That time a little bit better. So, but this is the thing.
There it is.
When you come down, you want to do the same thing. You have to do the same thing every single time in the stretch. So when he starts low, that's not a complete stop. Where he finishes his stretch is up top.
Yeah.
You know, he'll start down and then he comes up around the Mets logo there on his uniform. You have to also come to a complete stop. It's not a double set, but you can't come up and then all of a sudden do something different every single time while you're releasing the ball to home. You have to be consistent. See, that's still not a stop. You know, he goes up slow. You have to start there.
Now, I'm sure
So
Manaea,
you're deceiving the runner.
I'm sure Manaea and Carlos Mendoza want to get clarification on this so they can clean it up before you start in a regular season game.
Because right there, you're deceiving the runner.
Yes.
So if you're stopping around your belt, as soon as you go up, the runner should be able to take off. You're not allowed to go over to first base.
Right. See if he makes a little adjustment here going forward.
The only thing I can think is that maybe Vic Carapazza saw him stop at the top. So if that's his stop down around his belt,
yep.
You can go up slow, but you can't also stop your wind up there. So maybe he's thinking, okay, his set is down by his belt. As soon as he goes up with that glove, he can't stop again. He's got to continue.
Arias taking his lead off of second. 1-2 pitch. Cowles catches him looking. A backdoor slider for the first out.
That's a real good slider, and Manaea's had a real good breaking ball as well, along with Clark Schmidt.
That's 5 strikeouts already for Manaea. Back to the top of the lineup, Gleyber Torres.
A lefty can obviously, you know, he starts his windup, can still throw over to first, unlike a right-hander.
When you watch Gleyber Torres standing in the box, you can see a hitter who has had it all going on this spring. Very comfortable, very relaxed. Throw back to second base, and they're going to catch Arias off the bag.
real quick spin move, and that's another play that's set up in spring training. You watch McNeil, the second baseman, and a lot of times the middle infielders, they'll break towards the bag as soon as they see the back of the pitcher's head, and sometimes the catcher, Alvarez, and I've seen it around the league, they'll drop their glove. So it's kind of a timing play between the catcher and the middle infielder. As soon as he sees McNeil break, he drops, and then Manaea will spin around. That was a really good pickoff move there.
1-2 to Torres. Ground ball to third. Beatty up with it. And another scoreless inning for Sean Manaea. We're going to take this one to the fourth. Hiring crew trying to get some clarification. Top of the fourth, we are scoreless at Steinbrenner Field, and we are joined by the bench coach of the New York Yankees, Brad Ausmus, who is in charge of things this afternoon. First of all, Brad, thank you for joining us. And second, I had a question for you. When you get to this point in spring training, the last game of the year, what's your sense about the guys in the clubhouse? Are they ready to get going?
I think they are. I think they're done getting ready for meaningful games and prepared to play meaningful games.
How's your experience been? I mean, first time over here as a bench coach behind Aaron Boone. How's your experience been this spring?
I've actually had a blast. I've always enjoyed going to a new organization and kind of see how they do things and what they value in making decisions or when it comes to strategy. And it's been a blast. You know, the Yankees, the most storied franchise in baseball history, and they got a lot going on. I've learned quite a bit.
You know, Brad, I wanted to ask you, you and I competed against each other quite a bit in the minor leagues when you were a member of the Yankees organization. Then you made your way to the big leagues with some other teams. But how has it been kind of coming full circle back to where it all began?
It's, you know, there's not a lot of people left, obviously, from when I was here. We're talking about late 80s, early 90s, although Cashman was here. There's a few people here and there. Steve Donahue, one of the trainers, was here. But by and large, it's all new people and even a new facility. When I was with the Yankees, the big league club, although we had the Himes minor league complex here in Tampa, the big league club was across the peninsula over in Fort Lauderdale.
Mm-hmm. What do you see from Clark Schmidt this afternoon?
Hold on, I would say, before I get to Clark Schmidt, you say Flash says we competed against each other. We also got traded for each other.
We did. We did. I actually was thinking about that driving here today as we're seeing your resume, and a pretty impressive one. 5 seasons as a manager, 18 as a player, won 3 Gold Gloves, bench coach for Oakland, and a 48th round draft pick of these New York Yankees in 1987. But Brad, I was thinking driving here, when you were told that you were traded for me, you had to be a little embarrassed, didn't you?
No, not at all. I was terrible. You went on to have like a 28-game hit streak when you got over to San Diego, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that was a good time in my career when the stars aligned perfectly. But I think it all worked out perfectly for both of us. What do you think?
It worked out well, yeah. But back to Jeff's question about Clark. I think overall it looks really sharp. His that hard curveball. He's misfired it a few times and immediately come back and made the adjustment. I've always thought that pitchers, when you throw, especially an off-speed pitch, improperly, you know what you did wrong and you can fix it. And he's done that a couple times. He got a punch out, I think, of Alvarez earlier. But overall, I think he's looked real good.
You know, it's interesting you said that because, you know, pitching, you feel when you come off of slider bat, and you get a lot of times, whether it's Ausmus behind the plate or you Flash behind the plate, you wind up calling it again. Yeah. You're saying, okay, that didn't come out right. It might have worked, but hey, let's throw that thing again. Yeah,
well, and that used to be kind of my rule of thumb with a lot of pitchers, depending on their particular off-speed pitch. But yeah, I'd come right back with it.
And a nice round the horn double play right there. So Clark Schmidt continuing his solid outing. And Brad, I wanted to ask you about Austin Wells behind the plate. Obviously, with your career with the Gold Gloves, you know catching as well as anybody. How impressed have you been with the young catcher behind the plate?
Well, I love the aptitude more than anything. He understands that the most important part of his job is working with the pitchers and getting the most out of the pitchers, whether it's in his receiving or his game calling or blocking the ball in the dirt. But I will, you know, as much as I knew catching back when I played, it's changed so much. I think, Flash, you would agree with me that they just do things so differently. I'm actually trying to learn some of the methods they're teaching with the the receiving especially, and the blocking and the spread stance. It's really all kind of new to me, and I've actually even watched some videos that the Yankees have created in the past just to kind of, more than anything, just get the vernacular, how to speak the language.
Well, one thing that hasn't changed is how to call a game behind the plate, and you were as good as anybody with that. Will you be involved in game call?
No, I would say probably not at this point, but I've already started to have discussions with both catchers and some of the pitchers, so yeah. I think I might be involved externally more than internally.
Well, Brad, thank you very much for your time, and good luck with opening day coming up in a few days.
All right. Good talking to you guys.
We have a pitcher's duel going on. Sean Manaea's locked in against Clark Schmidt.
You know, it was interesting when we had Brad Ausmus on, and it blows me away when you have yourself as a veteran catcher. You have Brad Ausmus, many years in the big leagues, a veteran catcher. You asked him about, you know, Austin Wells and catching and giving him any kind of pointers or hints, and he says, oh, things have changed so much that I've got to relearn. Yeah. You know, the catching aspect of the game. I'm like, it's like, what is new? I mean, why do you have two veteran guys that have to relearn how to catch and how to frame?
Well, I think the first thing that I'm going to go to is the answer that he gave for Austin Wells, that he's all about what the pitchers need and what they want, right? And I think if you go back to the times where you, I, and Brad played the game, the catcher's responsibility was pitching staff first. And then I would say the next probably most important thing behind the plate was blocking the baseball, then throwing out runners, and then finally would be receiving. Now the game is completely changed behind the plate, where receiving is probably the #1 priority. So if you look at a guy like Alvarez, one knee down, and that is all to try to get underneath the baseball and get the low strike and get the calls from the umpire. That's Brad and I never did that. That was never a focus. We were known as guys who were good receivers, but there weren't metrics that you could judge how well you received the baseball and stealing strikes.
And this is different. You know, you watch Alvarez, and Wells does the same thing. They give the target, and as soon as they give the target, they drop the glove to the ground, yep. And then they pick it back up as the ball's coming, like you mentioned, to try to steal that low strike. For me as a pitcher, we're taught, I mean, well, I probably taught differently now as well. You know, you're all of a sudden changing the eye level of the pitcher. You know, what do you tell the youngsters? Hey, pick up the glove, throw the glove. You know, our whole deal, I mean, whether you're Mariano Rivera, Andy Pettit, wherever, you're taught, okay, sometimes guys pick up home plate differently. You know, they don't look right away. At home, they might go into their windup, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, they're picking up home. For pitchers, they say, hey, throw the glove. So a lot of times you guys will give targets. Yes. I mean, and then you're always throwing in the middle of your body, yep. Right? I mean, yep. You're telling, hey, move to the corners, move in, move out. And now you're seeing the catcher, they're going down and then back up. So the pitcher's picking up that target, and then all of a sudden his eyes are changing. That was a good changeup, actually, at 88 miles an hour from Manaea. We haven't seen too many those to get Soto.
You see Juan Soto giving a little look back. That is 6 strikeouts already for Manaea.
So now you're changing the eye level. You're seeing the catcher with his glove. Now you're going two different positions. You see how Alvarez, he dropped that real good changeup down at 88.
We'll bring up Aaron Judge. Aaron struck out his first at bat.
Another thing you've seen probably over the last couple of years more of is the catcher interference. You know, maybe it is because you're dropping your glove, you're trying to steal that low strike, but you're also reaching out there a little bit further.
No doubt. No doubt. There's a little acknowledgement, a little grin, saying, okay, you got me on that slider. There we go. You can tell it's spring training when you have an interaction like that. You won't see that on opening day.
Are you a fan of the new ways now?
So I would say that I'm a fan that defensive catchers are getting credit for how they receive the baseball.
Right.
Right. So I love that aspect of it. The one knee down, I'm not completely sold on because I feel like it limits your range going side to side to block baseballs in the dirt. And I always felt like that was something that I took a lot of pride in, that if you threw your sweeping slider into the left-hander's batter's box, I'd be able to find a way to block that ball. And I think when you're one knee down, you don't have the type of range. But I also like that the throwing runners out is becoming more of a priority the last couple of years.
How tough is that with the knee on the ground?
And now this is, Tanner Swanson, who's the catching instructor for the Yankees. He has worked for years with catchers throwing from the one knee, and all of the metrics will say it's just as quick as you were in a traditional stance. So they've got it all figured out now. Another slider, another swing and a miss, 7 strikeouts, and Judge down for the second time.
Manaya's doing a great job here in these 4 innings. You see the 4-seamer, it's upstairs. He's mixed in a changeup, got Soto on that change, and then that big slider there. It's real deceptive, and we've talked about changing the eye level. The fastball and the breaking balls coming in the same area. Next thing you know, that slider drops, and it's really tough for a hitter to lay off.
Rizzo a line drive to Jeff McNeil at second. So an easy 1, 2, 3, 4th inning. Manaya has it all going on.
Nestor, you're getting set to make your first opening day start. Just tell me what the preparation has been like.
I mean, I think it's pretty much the same. Obviously, the dates shifted a little bit while I was in camp. I would have been pitching today if that was the case, but it's a little different now. I've been on a 6th day for most of spring, and now leading up to opening day, I'm on a 7th day. So it doesn't change much for me, but just the extra day, it's going to feel a lot better.
Throughout the spring, what makes you confident in your stuff and that it's ready to get going?
Yeah, I think this whole spring we were targeting just feeling good, feeling healthy. And then towards the end, I wanted to compete. I wanted to show results. And I felt like last game against Atlanta, obviously with their A squad down there, first 3 innings were really good. Got a little tired towards the end, but it's just another stepping stone to, making that start on opening day, hopefully go 5 or 6 innings.
Any limitations on you at all? How many pitches do you think you're good for?
As of right now, I don't know exactly the number, but I'm thinking 80 to 85 would be like the goal to get there. First start, we're still building up. Hopefully, like I said, 80, 85.
That Houston Astros lineup, certainly no easy task to navigate through. What's the biggest key in trying to get through that lineup?
Yeah, I think command is going to be what it's going to come down to. The stuff is there. I feel like my stuff is where it needs to be. It comes down to commanding the pitch. Obviously, I'm not going to blow a lot of guys away, so I had to depend a lot on location.
What do you think the adrenaline will be like, and how do you handle the emotions on the mound, given that it is your first opening day start and really just the start of the season? There's a ton of excitement.
Yeah, this whole spring we were trying to target that. We're trying to not get overexcited or try and not do too much. That's kind of what happened to me last year when I came back from that injury against Houston. I was overamped. I felt like I had a task to do, and things got a little bit out of hand. But Thursday's going to be obviously the adrenaline's going to be already in there. I can't create more of that for myself. And it starts off with going into the bullpen and trying to those strikes, create my lanes, and just make sure that everything is set to go. So when the game starts.
Think you're going to sleep at all on Wednesday night?
I have to. I'm going to force myself for sure.
Hey, Nestor, we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Send it back to you.
Well, thank And it looks like Nestor Cortez says he's ready for about 80 to 85 pitches come opening day.
Again, a little different at how pitchers leave spring, and that's all over baseball. I mean, you don't see through and get the pitch count up.
Well, a solid 5th inning for Clark Schmidt. 1, 2, 3, and we are still scoreless. Back for the bottom of the 5th inning. It'll be Alex Verdugo leading off. Terens next, and then Austin Wells and Clark Schmidt. It looks like his final tune-up before the regular season begins was a good one. It looks like his afternoon is done.
Yeah, great job. He went 5 innings, only gave up the 1 hit, struck out 6, 68 pitches, and that's the most he's thrown in spring. You would love to, you can't help how he got through the first 5 innings, but it's up and down. That also counts. Sitting down in between innings and then going back out there, being able to finish 5. His last outing on the 15th, he threw 3 1/3 with 58 pitches, so that was nice to see him complete 5.
Meanwhile, on the other side of it, Sean Manaea back out there for the 5th inning. He's had 11 swings and misses already, 5 with the sweeper, 4 with the 4-seamer, 1 with the changeup, and 1 with the cutter. And behind the count here, 2-0 to Verdugo. Ground ball to second base. McNeil up with it. Easy out. Yankees spring training on Yes is presented by Montefiore Einstein, the official hospital of the New York Yankees. Nelly, I'm just a little disappointed that back in your day we didn't call your slider a sweeper.
No, I'm not at all.
I mean, if anybody would have had a sweeper back in the day, it was you.
Yeah, and all of a sudden now it's a new pitch. I mean, how's that a new pitch? It's just a new word.
Because you were sweeping that thing from the third base dugout to the first base dugout.
There's been sweepers long before me. I just don't get, it's funny with this. I won't ever say a sweeper. I'm saying slider. I'll say a slurve.
A big slider as opposed to a tight slider.
Yeah,
how about
tight
that?
Slider could be a slurve.
Yep.
And how do they differentiate between a slider and a, so they might say a little small, they'll call a good break a sweeper, and then somebody will throw the exact same pitch and that's a slider. I mean, what are we doing here? That's why I'm calling them all sliders. I refuse to say sweeper.
Well, I would say that you and the Duke, El Duque, had the big sweepers back in the day. Easy play for Lindor, 2 down. So maybe that's what you got to be on this Legends cruise in order to, you have to have a sweeper to be invited.
Exactly. We actually had a little wiffle ball game with a lot of the Yankee fans, and we mixed in a few sweepers.
You drop down a little bit?
Yeah, you can hold the wiffle ball a certain area where the wind blows through the holes on the wiffle ball and you get it to break a little bit more.
2 down for Austin Wells.
I think with Manaea, it's the hair. He had the big hair on the back, and that probably had a lot of drag when he was going to the plate. Now he's nice and clean cut. The stuff looks back to when he was in Oakland.
Getting that pitch count up at 68.
There's the mullet, or whatever you want to call it. The flow.
Hot shot right back up the middle. 2-out base hit for Wells.
That's just a 2-seamer, supposed to be away. Got too much of the plate. Nice job by Wells. Hitting it right back up the middle. This is going to be interesting as well, the catching. You have Rortvedt out of options, but, who's going to get that opening day nod? I know they face Valdez, who's a lefty.
Yep. I would have to believe, now we haven't heard anything, that it would be a platoon, right? Righty-lefty.
Right.
At the beginning of the year, and then you see how it plays out. I mean, what Austin Wells did last year during the month of September was impressive, and what he's done coming into spring training fighting for a job has been equally impressive.
And Trevino was out first couple weeks of spring, and Wells got the chance to catch Stroman, Cole, a lot of the big starters, and get used to them.
I think it really, really is big what Brad Ausmus was saying about Wells, that his focus is on, like you said, working with these guys in the rotation, getting to know all your bullpen arms. And he's come into this organization as a reputation for an elite left-handed swing, but he's focused more on pitching staff and working behind the plate, which is really good signs for the Yankees, as Lindor can't come up with that one, and the 5th inning will continue.
That was going to be a tough play anyway. Arias runs well. I think the only chance Lindor was going to get it out, and you see this probably hit off the front of the plate, is to try to go to second and get Wells, who doesn't throw well. I mean, you're not going to get Arias coming across. This is just a one of those wish plays. I wish I made this one and maybe try to get it out, but it's not going to happen.
2 down, bring up Ben Cowles. Struck out his first at bat. ...109 games in A-ball and AAA last year. Fly ball left field and hit well and deep and off the wall. A little short hop against the wall, be extra bases as Wells will score the first run. Here comes Arias with the second, and 2-out damage by Ben Cowles.
Well, it was supposed to be Bibas in this lineup, but Coles, he gets a sinker that didn't sink and stayed over the middle of the plate and more in. He just dropped the head of the bat, thinking maybe he might have got it. There's the one hops the wall. It's 2-out double, 2 RBIs.
So the Yankees strike in the bottom of the 5th, and with 2 down, bring up Gleyber Torres. Led the game off with a base hit. Grounded out to third his last at bat.
Get Clark Schmidt a W. Still like to see your name with a W next to it. I don't care if it's in spring or not.
Good fastball there at 93. Quickly ahead in the count 0-2.
Yeah, Manaea went changeup down, and then all of a sudden climbs the ladder with that 4-seamer. See if he back legs that breaking ball that he's done before.
There it is. Gleyber spoils it. Such a good year last year. Cut down on the strikeouts. Increased his walk total. And really did an excellent job hitting with 2 strikes, hitting behind in the count. Just putting baseballs in play. It's blocked by Alvarez. Mets have raved about Alvarez this spring training. Really has improved his throwing. Had 25 home runs last year, so Mets might have the total package behind the plate. Largest strikeout percentage decrease. Gleyber third on that list. There's a hot shot to third base. Beatty up with it. And that will end the bottom of the 5th inning, but the damage has been done. Ben Cowles, a 2-out double, couple RBIs. Yankees lead 2-0. Yes, download the Yes app and stream games with a live stat overlay for an enhanced experience. Play along, win cash prizes, and earn Yes rewards to redeem for gift cards and gear. Download now, and remember that if you get Yes on TV, then you get the Yes app for free. Territorial restrictions apply. 2-0 Yankees on a rowdy scoreboard, top of the 6th inning. Clay Holmes taking over for Clark Schmidt after his 5 shutout innings. There's a good 2-seam fastball. Get back in the count. The numbers last year for Clay Holmes were outstanding. 2.86 ERA. Only gave up those 2 home runs and 71 strikeouts. Curveball. Nimmo popped it up. Gonna have trouble. Looks like Verdugo able to pick it up with those sunglasses on. Looks like the sun in left field is going to be an issue this afternoon.
Yeah, it's tough during the day at George M. Steinbrenner Field, especially on the left side, and even if you have those shades, it gets up into that sun. And we saw a play earlier that Verdugo had to run in thinking that Arias, the shortstop, was going to come over and get it, a little shallow fly ball.
Francisco Lindor takes a first pitch fastball for a strike.
Talk about taking off thumbs. How about catching Clay Holmes?
I was just thinking that little plastic piece that I would wear underneath my glove. You do that because of the power sinker of a guy like Clay Holmes. Velocity and movement. Well, the Yankees feel good about their bullpen leaving spring training, and this guy's going to be a big piece at the back end. Swing and a miss from Lindor. 2 quick outs for Holmes.
Yeah, real nice slider at 88 after a couple sinkers in the upper 90s, and then all of a sudden drops a hammer on him right down the middle. Nice job.
Two quick outs on 6 pitches. It'll bring up Pete Alonso. Alonso 0 for 2. Shot the other way and a fair ball. It should be extra bases for Pete Alonso as Soto comes up with it. And a 2-out double for the Mets first baseman.
Well, Alonso looked fooled on the pitch. He said it was 97. It looked more like a slider. And he just hits it the other way. Yeah, he said sinker up. He fought that one off and hits it down the right field line for a double.
And it looks like that will do it for Pete Alonso. His last at bat of spring training. A 2-out double. And Pete Alonso will get himself ready for opening day against the Brewers on Thursday. So 2 down. Jeff McNeil, as that gets away from Wells.
It's not only crushing your thumb, it's also taking your rotator and destroying that as well. I mean, how tough is this to catch? This is a sinking fastball at 96, and you're just trying to get a glove on it.
Yeah, you're protecting down and away, and all of a sudden it sails up, out over the plate. In all seriousness, though, this is a good inning for Wells to work with Clay Holmes. Guy's going to be pitching a lot in the 9th inning, getting some work here in the 6th. Just making sure you get on the same page.
Yeah, when Holmes stays on top of that sinking fastball, it's got such great movement. That last pitch at 97, it was nasty.
Check swing.
What's he saying?
I think he's saying
we're talking about the thumb there.
Let's see if this was a foul tip. Yeah, you can see he didn't catch it clean. You get that thumb usually takes the beating. Maybe the wrist. Ground ball to short. Arias can't come up with it. Keeps it in front. Keep that runner at third base. See how they score that one?
Yeah, it might have been a tough play to get McNeil over at first, but you watch how he went to field this ball. Arias, instead of coming with the glove straight on, he chose to backhand that ground ball. Now, if he goes with the glove straight on and fields it that way, you might feel it a little cleaner. It might be able to throw across the diamond and see if you can get McNeil. Instead, he tried backhanding that, and that hit him right in the heel.
First and third, 2 down for Starling Marte. Oh. I hope Marte is all right. Guys battled so many injuries last year. Looks like he's all right, but Carlos Mendoza says your afternoon is done. So he'll be pinch ran for.
Now, this is just a fastball sinker that's supposed to be away, and you see where he releases the ball. He didn't follow through and get through that fastball, and luckily it just glances off the top of that helmet. See Clay Holmes. Definitely not intentional.
2 down, bring up DJ Stewart. Struck out looking, struck out swinging, 0 for 2.
Well, this is where you might want to call a breaking ball right here. You know, his mechanics, he's really out in front on the fastball. Maybe sometimes that breaking ball dial him back in. A lot of times that breaking ball force you to stay back and stay over the rubber, because you can't release that out in front. You have to stay back on the curveball or slider.
There it is. Get me over slider to get back in the count, 2-1.
That just reminds you, when you have to stay back, you're breaking your hands in the right spot. There you see a good slider for a strike, and that just reminds you, hey, I got to do the same thing with my fastball.
Another slider. Stewart rolls it over. Torres, little bobble, but able to complete the play. So Clay Holmes, scoreless inning here in the 6th. Office there, enjoying the festivities. Mariano Rivera delivering the first pitch to Robinson Cano, a couple of old teammates. And Yankees lost that game yesterday, but everything that came out of there and the excitement with the crowd sounds like it's a great time in Mexico City. They will do it again tonight at 8 o'clock right here on Yes.
Yeah, it's all about promoting the game of baseball worldwide. They go over to England. They've done Puerto Rico, Mexico City. A lot what the NFL does, you know, playing everywhere. In Germany, the NFL had a game over there.
Juan Soto will take his 3rd at bat. The new pitcher, Brooks Raley. There's a slider for a strike, quickly ahead in the count, 0-2.
The Raley fastball, slider, cutter, change. Come a little 3/4 action. Nice front door slider on Soto. Might see him try to expand the zone with that slider down and away. He throws it quite a bit.
Well, it will be must-see TV on Thursday, opening day. There are the numbers for Raley. Last year, a solid year with a 2.80 ERA. But Juan Soto getting his first at-bat as a New York Yankee in Houston on Thursday, as he rolls over, ground ball to first base, 1 down here in the 6th. Tonight on the Yes app, it's the final game of the spring as Giancarlo Stanton and the split squad Bombers face off with the Diablos Rojos in Mexico City. First pitch is scheduled for 8 o'clock only on the Yes app. And tonight on Yes, the Nets are in Toronto versus the Raptors. That coverage begins at 6:30 on Yes, so keep an eye on both the Yankees and the Nets using your Yes app. Aaron Judge, first pitch swinging, and from working that game yesterday, Nelly, the fans in Mexico City, they kept the energy and the excitement up for the entire game. Fun atmosphere for everybody to play in.
Well, fun for the team, fun for the fans, absolutely. You know, the passion that the Latin American countries have for their baseball. Mexico is one of those leagues that play in the summertime as Major League Baseball has their season.
So as I was working that game yesterday, it brought me back to winter ball in Puerto Rico in 1992, and the excitement and energy of the crowd is what I will always remember. You ever play winter ball?
I did, in Puerto Rico as well.
You did? What team?
I was in Bayamón. It used to be Caguas, and they went to Bayamón. Where'd you go?
I was Arecibo.
Arecibo.
Yep.
I think Carlos Delgado was Arecibo, wasn't he?
Bernie Williams was Arecibo when I was there, as Aaron Judge loops a line drive base hit into left field, his first hit of the afternoon.
Well, there's this little slider down and in, and one-handed it. Nice job, nice at-bat for Judge. There you see he was fooled, but he kept his hands back, able to shoot it in left field. Well, I was in Miami in the beginning of February, and got to call the Caribbean Series in Mexico, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, the Dominican. The fans that showed up at Lone Depot Park in Miami, there was occasions at nighttime, the night games, there was 36 to 37,000.
Nice.
I mean, and you mentioned winter ball and how passionate it is for the Latin American countries. And in Puerto Rico, you're an American down there, you better do well. They're not. If you're coming, because it was an honor back then to go to winter ball.
Yes.
I mean, if your organization asks you, hey, we would like you to go down. I played in Venezuela after my second year in the big leagues just for a month, and I was only going to be there for a month. But if you're asked, you go.
Trent Grisham, a base hit to right field. And Aaron Judge cruises on into third base. First and third, one down.
Well, there's a slider just caught too much of the plate. Nice AB for Grisham. High chopper over first base. But the fans of Mexico getting a little taste of big league baseball.
One down, bring up Alex Verdugo. Well, getting back to winter ball for a second, I played for Nick Leyva. He's the manager of Arecibo. And I'll never forget, we had 6 Americans on that team, and we had a team meeting before we had our first workout. And Nick was speaking Spanish as Verdugo rolls one over. Possibility of a double play, not in time, as Aaron Judge will score the 3rd run of the afternoon on the fielder's choice. And Nick Leyva had this meeting with everybody and started speaking Spanish. And he looked at all of us, the Americans, and said, you're playing winter ball in Puerto Rico, you're going to learn how to speak Spanish. That's how it's done here. And when all of the players from Puerto Rico go to play professional baseball in the States, they have to learn English. So I thought it was a great lesson and a great experience all the way around for 2 months, although I hit like 180, which was...
Did you stay the whole time?
I did. I stayed the whole time.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Did you learn any Spanish?
I love Paquito, yeah.
A little. The good words, though. All you had to do is to make sure that you understood if you were getting talked about.
Yes, and you had to learn how to communicate with your pitchers, right, to get on the same page, which is usually never a problem with a language barrier. So
when I was there, Pudge Rodriguez was my catcher.
He was.
Yeah. That was in '91. I was right before that. Me down there, I made the team the next year in '92. I mean, that winter ball was huge for people.
Yeah.
Huge for guys. I mean, you're playing against big league players. And then I think Bernie in '91, Bernie was with San Juan, I think.
So I'm glad you bring this up, because I felt like it was an all-star team when you were playing against like San Juan and Santurce, as Terens blocks one off the other way, and that will do it for the bottom of the 6th inning. But the Yankees add another run, and they lead this one 3-0 for a nice interview.
Thanks, Clayton. It's not official, but you are traveling with the team to Houston, Texas. Just tell me what they've told you so far and what your reaction was.
Yeah, they basically told me that I pitched well this spring, and I internally just earned at least a spot to travel to Houston. So nothing official yet, but at least I know I'm getting on the plane.
Looking back at your spring, what stands out to you?
I feel like I've grown a lot. You know, the big leaguers here that have done it for a long time have really taken me in and treated me really well and helped me learn a lot about my stuff and how to be confident and really just believe in my stuff and attack.
What is it about your stuff that they made you believe and tell you it's good enough to get major league hitters out?
I guess they just told me to throw it and believe in it, and then the results spoke for themselves.
Now, I spoke to Matt Blake a little while ago, and he said they really tested you this spring if potentially you're coming out of the bullpen. How comfortable are you coming out of the pen?
It feels pretty good. You know, the last couple outings I came out of the pen and learned a lot about how to be good at it, and I didn't have any issues with it, so it was fun. It was a cool experience.
Now, you're from Fort Worth. They're starting the season in Houston. What would it mean to you to be on that Major League opening day roster?
It would mean a lot. I mean, surely a lot of people would be able to make it to Houston easier than New York, I guess, but I'm excited, you know.
What do you think the next couple days will be like as you wait to see what becomes official?
I don't know. You know, everybody here is really cool, and I feel like I fit in with the guys, and so it's not too much of a shock because they're all just taking me in so well.
Clayton, we'll see you in Texas.
All right, thank you.
Send it back to you.
Thank you, Meredith, and congratulations, Clayton. And he did have a very solid spring training. 5 games, couple of starts. The ERA at 3.18, and the opponent's batting average only 234. An exciting time for Clayton Beeter and his family, as Ferguson gets a swing and a miss on Beatty. 1 down here in the 7th.
Yeah, the excitement level that he showed. I'm so happy that he was able to hold that back in that interview with Meredith.
There's the numbers on Ferguson last year with the Dodgers.
Come on, Nelly. I'm sure
a little bit more.
It was similar to your excitement level when you were told. You probably just expected it. And the one thing that's kind of a weird scenario.
I couldn't stop smiling.
I know, with Clayton Beeter, it's not official yet. The roster has not officially been set. He basically won the competition amongst the internal competition, but there is still some things that could happen from now until opening day. So while he's traveling to Houston until it becomes official, maybe he just doesn't want to get too excited.
So what is it? You get called in and say, hey, you earned the right to travel on the team plane.
You
may have not made it, but hey, you, at least you're coming with us.
As you see Taylor, a hot line drive to third base. Well, we've already talked about it. There are so many pieces that move here at the end of spring training. They just have to make it official by putting that roster in before opening day. Zach Short gets his first at bat of the afternoon.
Well, I hope it does happen and his family gets to go down the road. What, a couple hours from Fort Worth where he's?
It's about 3.5, 4 hours from Fort Worth. Yeah.
Now, when you made your major league debut, wasn't it on an opening day roster? Or you got called up during the season?
I got sent down in spring in '92, and then actually it was the second game of the big league. So I don't know what happened. I was with Seattle then. The Mariners were in Milwaukee when Milwaukee was in the American League. They played 1 game, and I played 1 game in AAA, and then next day I got my big league debut, made my big league debut. And I actually didn't pitch in Milwaukee. I was there for both the second 2 games, but didn't pitch, and then we went to Chicago against the White Sox, and the first game I made my debut.
So that was 1992?
1992.
I actually have you beat by 2 days, believe it or not.
Really?
I was sent down the last cut in 1992, drove my car from Florida to New York to watch my younger brother play a high school game, and got a call the next morning for opening day, Red Sox Yankees at Yankee Stadium.
Wow.
So we both kind of had the same experience. Get sent down last cut and then got called back right away.
Who did you face your major league debut?
Charles Nagy. Swing and a miss by Short, and you know the cool thing was I caught him in the Cape Cod League.
Oh, is that right?
When we played for the Harwich Mariners. He was a reliever for Harwich, pitched at UConn, and then turned a starter with Cleveland, and got my first major league base hit off a guy that I had caught in the summer college league. Comes a 3-2 from Ferguson to Zach Short. Ground ball to Short. Bobbled. And not going to be able to make the play at second. So the 7th inning will continue.
There's a couple plays to Arias, the shortstop. Just looked like he's let the ball play him. It was a ground ball up the middle, and it's a pretty easy play. He just takes his eye off of it. It's an easy shuffle. Alvarez, the catcher for the Mets, really doesn't run well, and everybody's safe. My first hitter that I faced was Steve Sachs.
And what happened?
I pitched 2 innings against the White Sox, and I did well, didn't give up a run. I think I gave up a hit to Dan Pasqua, former Yankee.
Sure.
That was the first big league hit that I gave up. I faced Frank Thomas for the first time, and I actually stepped off the mound, and I was like, I've never seen anybody in the minor leagues as big as this guy. But that's when the White Sox, they were pretty good back then, and they always had really good crowds. I mean, I spent 7 years in the minor leagues.
Minor leagues,
so
right.
Just to get there, I was like, wow.
So I played against Frank Thomas in the minor leagues when he was the #1 pick. And you know what jumped out to me? He could crush a slider. Off speed. For a big man, you would expect him to be a fastball hitter. And I vividly remember, I'm like, wow, he wears out the slider to right center field. And he made a Hall of Fame career out of hitting the breaking ball.
Tremendous hitter, and also hit right around 300.
First at bat for Brandon McIlwain.
And I wound up facing Frank Thomas the most out of anybody in the big leagues.
Could you ever get a called strike on the inner half to Frank Thomas? He would always jump out of the way, and the umpires would never call the strike on the inner half. So he would look for the ball away, and great approach. Who was that one hitter who gave you fits? You just couldn't find a way to get him out.
The little guys like Omar Vizquel, David Eckstein.
Yeah.
The guys that, you know, you get ahead of them and then you can't strike them out and then just put the ball in play. Omar would sit there and bunt the other way and get on. I'm like, this is, you know, you wind up throwing 10, 12 pitches, you know, to these guys. It's like, I might as well just drill you and save and get the guy on deck. The big home run hitters were, I mean, if you made a mistake, they'd make you pay, but at least they had holes and you were able to get those guys out a little bit easier.
The one pitcher who gave me fits was Jamie Moyer. Did you play with him? Did you play with him in Seattle?
Seattle. Slow, and slower.
Yeah, because I would always think in my mind, he's got to throw a fastball this time. And he would just change up.
You could catch him without a glove.
Yep. He would throw a change up off a change up, right?
Yes.
Good numbers against Frank Thomas for you. 5 for 31, 11 Ks.
Yeah, that's probably one of the reasons why I faced him the most.
Swing and a miss from Ferguson. The Yankees lead this one 3-0. As we're going down memory lane, but we're going to stay.
You got 5 hits?
5 hits off you, Nelly. We're going to stay in Tampa for God Bless America.
Ladies and gentlemen, today the New York Yankees are recognizing all the brave men and women of our armed forces. So please direct your attention to the Yankees' first base dugout and welcome Sergeant Eddie Melendez of the United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Melendez, who served our country from 2002 to 2010, had deployments including Qatar and Iraq from 2008 through 2010. The New York Yankees welcome Sergeant Eddie Melendez as our military honoree of the game. And say thank you as well to all of our brave men and women for their service and sacrifices for our nation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing and remove your caps for the playing of God Bless America.
In the 5th inning, got the Yankees on the board. Bottom of the 7th, Ben Rortvedt took over for Austin Wells behind the plate. And he's quickly behind in the count to the new right-hander for the New York Mets, Drew Smith.
Smith fastball 96 to 97. There you see the numbers from last year as a Met. Slider curveball change.
Ben Rortvedt still in that competition for a spot on this opening day roster. .240 batting average this spring. And he is out of options. And the good news when you're a player and you are out of options, if you don't make this Yankee roster, there will be an opportunity for other clubs to be able to pick you up. So at least you get to know, Nelly, what all the other 29 clubs are thinking about your game.
Yeah, and catching with other teams, you know, very limited. The Yankees are fortunate that they have a number of catchers in their camp that could make a lot of big league rosters, and that's not so much the case with other teams. They're looking for catching.
We'll see how it all plays out with Vortvedt as he swings right over the top of a curveball. One down here in the 7th. Tomorrow night on Yes, don't miss a brand new episode of Forbes Sports Money as Bob Lorenz and Mike Ozanian will reveal the 2024 MLB team valuations, plus a discussion on the next NBA TV deal. That's tomorrow at 6:30 on Yes and the Yes app, and that is immediately following the Michael Kay Show, which is simulcast on Yes. Roderick Arias, 2 for 2, couple of singles. Number 3 Yankee prospect and number 86 overall in MLB. Skies this one the other way. That'll find the seats. Arias, a switch hitting shortstop. "19 years old. Number 68 prospect, Baseball America. An all-star in 2023. And a good take on a changeup that just missed down. 60 runs, 60 field, 70 arm. That's a scouting grade of 20/80.
Where would your number be with the run?
20.
Mine would be like 10.
20.
Mine's not even on the scale.
I'm always amazed that the scouting scale is 20/80. How about 1 to 10?
Exactly.
How about 1 to 10? We got to do 20/80. I don't think I'd want to see a scouting report on my game, actually. Hot shot, nice play by the second baseman, and they're going to get Arias by a half a step. 2 down. As Young, who's taken over at second base, nice play.
Yeah, robbed Arias of a base hit. Almost lost the handle on the ball. Nice job going to his left. A big oven mitt in the back of his pocket.
2 down for Ben Coles. Another base hit for him. Had a double and a couple RBIs. Now adds another base hit. Get that late start at third base, and he's taking advantage of it.
Yeah, nice job. Gets first pitch fastball upstairs, smokes it into left field.
Two down for T.J. Rumfield.
Where did they come up with the grades, the 20/80?
Now you get drafted out of high school, right?
Out of high school. I was going to say Brad Osmond's 48th round pick. Where were you?
25th.
22nd.
22nd.
Yeah.
How hard were you throwing in high school?
84.
Wow.
Yes.
Now, I'm just asking that question because I'm sure the scout who signed you had to project how you would fill out as a high school kid as you got older and stronger.
And when I graduated high school, I was 17, so I think I was the youngest guy drafted in 1984. I was 6'2", 175 pounds. I grew all the way until I was like 20.
Throwing 84 miles an hour.
84 miles an hour.
Did you have the big sweeper back then?
No, I had terrible. The only thing I was sweeping was the snow off the sidewalk. I didn't even know how to throw a breaking ball. When I first got drafted, I got drafted by the Dodgers. I had Sandy Koufax, Don Drysdale, Larry Sherry. These guys all were trying to show me a grip of how to throw a breaking ball. And none of them worked. I mean, Sandy Koufax could wrap his whole fingers around the baseball. So how am I going to throw something like that?
Yeah.
Until I went to, and I got Rule 5 by the Mariners. Pat Dobson, the late Pat Dobson, showed me a grip, and stuck with it. But my dad was 6'4", so the scout, he was a Dodger scout. Just I looked at my dad, so he probably was going to be a big dude.
Now, were you entertaining going to college?
My mom wanted me to go to school. My dad wanted me to sign.
Really? On the move to throw to second. They got him. Cole's caught stealing. And that will end the 7th inning. As the Yankees lead this one. Training on Yes is presented by your local Ford stores. There's an engine that drives this team. Ford is proud to be the official SUV of the New York Yankees. Top of the 8th inning. Yankees lead this one 3-0. A new pitcher for the Yankees, Luke Weaver, will take over. His numbers last year with 3 different clubs. And a good ERA with the Yankees, 3.38 in his 13 1/3 innings. Luke Weaver in a good position to have a spot in that Yankee bullpen come opening day. And he will face Carol Paz leading off here in the 8th.
So how did you find out that now it's all printed in the papers and everybody knows who gets drafted in what round? They only have 20 rounds now, so those we would have never even been seen. You know, you 25, me 22, Osmus 48. How did you find out?
So I was told that I was probably going to go anywhere from the 3rd to 6th round. So when I didn't hear on the first day, I was like, okay, that's fine. Then I didn't hear anything on the 2nd day. And then I got a call on the 3rd day. And I was actually going to go to the Cape Cod League. Good change up, one down here in the 8th. I was going to go to the Cape Cod League to play, which I did because I was drafted so much later than I was told. And eventually, about a week later, the scout who signed me, Phil Rossi, for the Boston Red Sox, he wore down my old man. He called him every night. Say, listen, I know he didn't get drafted where you wanted him to, but he was the first catcher we took in the draft. He's going to be all this. And eventually my dad was like, okay, I think you need to sign. I like this guy. How about you?
Back then it was Pony Express. You know. I mean, I had no clue about the draft or anything. I grew up in Baltimore, no clue. And I got a telegram from Western Union.
No way.
Yeah. And then after I got the telegram, then Bob Carter, the late Bob Carter, was the scout for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Said, you've been selected in the 22nd round by the Los Angeles Dodgers.
So your dad wanted you to sign, but your mom
wanted me to go to school.
Where were you going to go to school?
Old Dominion, which is ironic because Mark Newman, the late Mark Newman, was the head coach at Old Dominion. Dan Radisson, who was a coach at Old Dominion, they scouted me in high school. So I went down to Old Dominion to visit. And years later, Mark Newman's the minor league director of the Yankees. Dan Radisson was one of the instructors with the Yankees, and I get traded over with Tino Martinez in 1996.
Wyatt Young fouls that off.
Wasn't Mike Piazza like a 60-something round?
62nd round, I believe.
62nd round.
Spencer Jones opened up a lot of eyes this spring training. Young outfielder. Good change up from Weaver. A couple of quick outs, 2 strikeouts. 2024 James P. Dawson Award winner, most outstanding Yankee rookie in spring training. There's Pete Caldera giving him that award.
Well, he had a pretty good start when he hit, what, a 470-foot homer. I think it was his first game in spring.
.444 batting average. A lot to look forward to in his game. We were talking about Frank Thomas being such a big man coming out of college, and you'd expect him to be a dead red, maybe a long swing. And I've been so impressed with Spencer Jones, how big he is, but how short and compact his swing.
Yeah, from the left side, 6'6".
Yeah. Omar De Los Santos.
Imagine that outfield someday if Aaron Judge, what, 6'7", 6'8", Jones, Spencer Jones, 6'6".
And the 0-2 from Weaver. That is an impressive 8th inning. Luke Weaver, 1-2-3 with 3 strikeouts. Bottom of the 8th inning, Yankees lead this one 3-0. New pitcher for the New York Mets, a familiar face, Adam Ottavino, taking over here in the 8th. And he will face T.J. Rumfield, and quickly ahead 0-2. Numbers last year for Ottavino: 29 walks, 62 strikeouts. And the 0-2 to Rumfield. Slider down and in, swing and a miss. 1 down. Welcome back to Yankee Spring Training, presented by Ford. Proud to be the official SUV of the New York Yankees. Jahmai Jones, 7 games last year with the Brewers. All right, Nelly, so this is the last spring training game of Spencer Jones waiting on deck from Tampa, Florida. We know the Yankees will play a split squad tonight in Mexico City. Give me your impressions how the spring went and what kind of shape the Yankees are in for opening day. As Jones grounds 1 to short, 2 quick outs.
Well, besides LeMahieu starting on the IL, I mean, that's a little bit of a disappointment. You got Anthony Rizzo, who's really swung the bat well. He seems to be healthy, and that's a good sign playing this last game. You look at Aaron Judge, he got a base hit his last AB. He's going to be ready. Health-wise, you like the way they're going in. Garrett Cole obviously not going to be in this rotation for a month or 2. Now everybody else is getting slotted up. You have Cortez as your opening day starter. Offensively, I think they're great. You know, I think the biggest question with them is just the pitching. Can they tread water with Rodon? You have Stroman, who's had an outstanding spring. I really like the way Clark Schmidt has thrown this spring as well. They're going to be, I think, the decision makers of how this team goes. I think offensively they're solid. You know, even if they do have some bumps and bruises in this lineup, I still think that the pitching is going to be, you know, where is that going to take them? You?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Really, the concerns with the rotation, and especially early in the year, we know that these guys don't go deep into ball games, so the middle of your bullpen coming out on opening day is going to be so important. But this lineup has been very impressive this whole spring, and it'd be fun to watch Juan Soto hitting wherever Aaron Boone is going to pencil him in. It looks like it's going to be second in that lineup.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who the leadoff hitter is going to be. It could be Verdugo, could be Volpe, it could be Torres. Now LeMahieu is not there. Cabrera started swinging the bat pretty well the last few games of the spring. You like to see that. I mean, he struggled in the beginning, and then all of a sudden he's starting to put it together because he might get most of the nods over there at third.
A 2-out walk for Spencer Jones. Fans, we're just 3 days away from opening day. Make sure you're locked into Yes as Aaron Judge and the Yankees kick off the regular season on the road against the Houston Astros. Don't miss the exciting debut of Juan Soto with complete pregame coverage beginning Thursday at 3 p.m. on Yes and the Yes app. We will have a full-hour pregame show getting you ready for the Yankees opener against the Astros. Bob Lorenz, Jack Curry, and myself, and then we'll hand it over to the guys doing the game in Houston, as Trent Grisham will get his second at bat of the afternoon. Had a base hit his first at bat. Opening day pitching matchup, a good one. Nestor Cortez with that 4.97 ERA against Framber Valdez, 12-11. We know he throws a lot of curveballs, a lot of sinkers, gets a lot of ground balls. It'll be a good one opening day on Thursday.
I mean, it's a real good test, the first road trip. I mean, you have the Astros and the Diamondbacks. You know, Diamondbacks going to the World Series last year. They're a much improved team. Come home against the Blue Jays.
And the 0-2 from Ottavino. Slider misses down and in. Swing and a miss on a changeup from Ottavino, so a clean bottom of the 8th inning for Ottavino. We'll take this one to the 9th. Yankees lead 3-0. Trike bike. Jack, a legend in the business. It's his preferred mode of transportation. All dolled up with the Yes colors.
That's like having training wheels, isn't it? Just bigger training wheels to trike, so if you make a turn, you don't tip.
Weaver back out for his second inning of work. Weaver a 1-2-3 8th inning, 3 strikeouts in that inning.
I heard that trike is electric. Everything's electric.
Everything's electric.
Anybody,
yep.
I thought a bike is supposed to be one of those things you get exercise on. Now, do you even pedal anymore? They just have pedals for show?
They have pedals, and I've seen people. I've never ridden one, so I can't really answer that for you. We'll have to ask.
Ride a bike?
We'll have to ask Jack.
Oh. You've ridden a bike before?
Yes, I have, Nelly. Yes, I have. A.J. Ewing ahead in the count 3-1. Yankees trying to wrap this one up to win their 14th game of the spring. And a 3-2 from Weaver. Got him. Hey fans, last season's Aaron Judge number 62 bobblehead giveaway that was rained out has been rescheduled for Saturday, April 20th. So come see the Yankees take on the Rays, and the first 18,000 guests in attendance will receive an Aaron Judge number 62 bobblehead, the second of a 2-part collectible set, courtesy of TikTok. Tickets are going fast, so get yours today at Yankees.com. There's a hot shot to short. Arias over to first. 2 down. This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the New York Yankees. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the New York Yankees. That has to be the latest disclaimer that our producer Josh Isaac has ever given us. 2 outs in the 9th, and we got it in. Meanwhile, Luke Weaver looking very sharp here. 5 up, 5 down.
He could play a big part Yankee bullpen, especially with what you talked about, Flash, the pitch count. The guys leaving, the starters leaving spring, about 80-85 mark. You're going to need that middle relief, the long guys, and he can give you multiple innings. Luke Weaver can. And Josh was enamored by all the draft talk in the Pony Express, the Cape League.
The 0-2, and that will do it. Luke Weaver closes it out with 2 solid innings of relief, 6 up, 6 down. The Yankees win their 14th game of spring training, a 3-0 shutout from George M. Steinbrenner Field.
You got to like what you've seen from the Yankees. They're pretty happy today, and that's it. You know, they're off to Houston, a couple off days. They'll probably work out tomorrow and then fly out. But outstanding job. They got one more game tonight in Mexico City. But overall, real nice.
Solid.